All right, good. So, jealous of what? Stay over there. We don't think about y'all at all. So, again, there's a lot of xenophobia rhetorics here. Uh, African people in general, Caribbean people, and immigrants will receive this as xenophobia. Okay, I don't. I understand the conversation, generally speaking. I understand that if you're pushing your own movement, fighting for your own reparations, and people come into that conversation with disrespect, I understand that they deserve this kind of rhetoric. But neither here nor there. But again, I understand it. But just keep in mind, and these are sizable books. They are minimum 200 pages. You can download them absolutely for free by simply going to, for example, this one, you just go to getmymarriageback.com, smartrealestateWholesaling.com, realestatemoneysecrets.com. So yes, I am a three times author, and those books are out there for your consumption, and they are also available everywhere on Amazon, anywhere that you pick up books. So in case you prefer a physical book like that, people that will see this, they're not necessarily going to dig in through, and this can pollute the movement. This can pollute the message of the movement, right? And I think it's happening with the ADOS already. A lot of people feel like the ADOS, African descent of slaves, that movement created by, I think they said, Tony and Yvette. I think a lot of people are saying that that movement was more so, they're reading it more so as about the LGBTQ community is polluted by labeling it minority. I think Tariq Nasheed actually said that, so that's the difference between the ADOS movement and the FBA, Foundation of Black American Movement. But again, if you really care about this movement, you want to stay away from statements like this. But I understand a lot of people are just trolling. I get it. Well, I'm just saying. All right. I don't know what this person wants. How to get started on YouTube. I'm not sure if they want that or anything like that. But if you want to get started on YouTube, the real answer to that is to find your favorite topics to talk about and turn on the camera and shoot on. Eventually YouTube, just like this one, will tell you what people want to hear the most. So from my data right now, it's telling me that people are engaged with the Tariq Nasheed stories and maybe the lead attorney, and we will continue to create topics around that while leveraging trendy topics. Okay. So for example, today we covered the story about Columbus Short. Okay. So that's YouTube really quickly, and there's a lot of technicalities to it, like reading the data, looking at the analytics and stuff like that. But it's about reading engagement. So you notice earlier I said I'm more concerned about minutes watched and the views rather than subscribers, right? Because that creates subscribers, right? So it's about engagement ultimately. Okay, and then following the audience, whatever the audience want to hear, whatever they want to consume, you continue to follow it, right? I in the beginning I created the first 100 videos around game, around how men should move when it comes to relationship. After looking at things, it looks like people are, they're not exactly excited about that, and the data told me that, and I move accordingly while I'm using that to still push the message that I want to push to young men in general. Why is she so negative? She's screaming. Okay, so I guess she's this is a TLA lead attorney supporter here. I get that. Negative screaming, that's you receiving it that way. That's what a woman who is engaged with a masculine side, that's what it looks like. If she feels the need to protect herself, she will push out a bunch of sign language. Somebody corrected me on that. Another square man corrected me on that. Right? She will push out sign language, meaning she will actively try to shame, insult you because she felt attacked, and she will defend herself. So that's where that's coming from. She was playing with this money. Yeah, I beg to differ. It was a joke. That's my opinion. It was a joke. She wasn't playing with his money. He was invited to a platform, and he was promoting. He plugged this course, rightfully so, because if you're invited, you should expect to plug my course. But if you plug your course, and if somebody responded with a joke, it's just a joke. It's not that deep, right? But I understand some of the square guys, Ronaldo, it's probably a square guy, you will see, they take offense, they read condescension very quickly, they're offended by very quickly. I get it too. It's a type of personality, it's not a crime. But if you do that, it can affect your game as well. It's not a lot of Black Americans that disagree with Tariq. LOL. You're only gonna come across them on social media, right? So there was a video where this gentleman was saying, "What about the white woman in your house?" or something like that, and and he I think he roasted the dude anyway. So, but it's a lot of Black Americans. See, this idea of Black Americans disagreeing with Tariq is not new. Black people in general, even in Africa, is one of our weakness. We push against each other. We have a hard time finding common ground, finding a common goal to pursue, and that's part of the reasons why we are the bottom of society in a lot of ramification and a lot of respect. Okay. It's part of our problems as Black people. We have a hard time putting forward a common front towards a common goal and building massive empires around the world. It's just what it is, right? Unfortunately, sadly. So it's not just Black Americans. So instead of you pushing against this, I'll just tell you straight up. Black people in general, Africans will do it to each other. Black people in America do it to each other, and then Black Americans, African Americans do it to Africans. And that's where this conversation is coming from in the first place, right? If you don't want these jokes, no, I don't mind the jokes. I was laughing. Okay, the jokes were funny as shit. If you don't want these jokes, leave Black Americans alone. I don't mind the jokes, okay? If anything, I would say maybe Black Americans can take a little bit more jokes since they know how to dish jokes, right? Listen, the joke, the African cheetah eater, that shit is funny to me, and I'm African, so we could take jokes. I would say look in the mirror and say that to yourself, okay? Y'all know we got jokes for days. Well, here's the funny things. If you know anything about Nigerians, we got jokes for years, okay? Especially if you enter our space. If we enter your space, it may seem like you're winning, but if you enter our space, yeah, you can get dragged, okay? So some of the biggest comedians in the world right now are, and even the Nollywood movement is because of the comedic abilities of Nigerians. Just keep that at the back of your mind. But it's all good. Maybe we can all take it together and say Black people got jokes in general. African people, we got jokes. There's nothing wrong with that, right? Let's see. Yep. Just Jay says, thank you. Please love to say it's only a Black American thing. Yeah, we Black. It's across board. Okay, it's across board. We're cousins, we're brothers, sisters, all of the above. If America is a failed country, why are so many people here? So an African person would push back at Americans and say America is a failed. That's disingenuous. United States of America is the greatest nation in the world as we stand, and it's going to be that way for a few more years at least, right? So, and that's why people come over here. So, yes, that's disingenuous. If somebody said that, so I think that's where Archie is coming from. What is up with the fight at the beginning? Right. So this fight at the beginning. Let me say. Oh no, I didn't mean to do that. Let me go back. I clicked the wrong link. Let me go back. All right. Let's see if I can scroll back. I think it will be. Let me see here. All right, yeah, I can open in another window. There you go. Yeah, that's this fight right here. So that's the fight that the person is talking about. Well, it's my extreme example of how it's an extreme example, granted, of how feminine energy attracts masculine energy. Okay, That's just that. It was a joke. All right, so dear Nigerians, you should be ashamed of yourselves. Nigeria is now number one for open defecation in the world. Well, I'll tell you what. When I first moved back here in 1998, so I spent 15 years in Nigeria between the ages of 3 and 18. When I was 18, 1998, I moved. Instead of moving to Texas, I ended up in Jersey, and I ended up in a town called Metuchen. Metuchen, New Jersey is beautiful, right? Like, wow, we're in the white man, blah blah blah. Coming out of living in Nigeria since 3 years old to 18, that's refreshing. If you've been to Africa before. Now there are cities that looks beautiful in Africa, but for the most part, it is Africa, right? It doesn't mean there are monkeys jumping everywhere, but I'm just saying this. And then on Sunday we were about to go to church, and then I ended up in Newark. The church was in Newark. I'm like, whoa, we have Africa here too, right? So again, any inner city you go to, there's something common in terms of, if you go to New York City right now, a lot of people that spend time in New York City will tell you straight up, like, it's smelly. It looks beautiful when you take pictures, but it's smelly, Or inner city in general, it's not always the cleanest. So now, does that mean people are defecating? No, people do pee on the streets in New York City. We could shape this back and forth however way, Now, am I saying people don't defecate on the street in Africa? I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, again, bringing this into the conversation of the foundation of Black Americans, it's not helping the movement. That's all I'm saying, okay? If anything, we should be putting energy together to make sure that Africa become the greatest continent in the world, and also the inner cities where we tend to have us as Black people can also start to showcase that we can also be the greatest in the world as well. This is just off of my own observations, right? It's limited to my observations. Bro, in America, we played dozens. We did this since slavery. I guess played the dozens is the banters back and forth. Go research. Also, they call us apes and gorillas. They're talking about West Africans as well. Yes, across board. I agree with that. You're wrong about Tariq Nasheed. I guess we can tell already that this is a Tariq Nasheed follower. By the way, I like Tariq Nasheed. Okay, I like people that have a way of leaving their foot on people's neck, especially if they've created a movement, they've done well for themselves, anything like that. I like that because sometimes that's how you get attention. I am a firm believer that you don't put us on a pedestal of any type, because we take it for granted. We don't really pay attention until somebody put a foot on your neck, not physically, figuratively speaking, right? So he's a masculine man. So again, I don't know if I mentioned about the masculine or feminine energy. Masculine and men they're not synonymous. Okay, masculine energy, because of the social construct we live in, tend to be in men, and because of some biology, like the hormones and stuff like that, testosterone and stuff like that, right? But it's mainly a function of the society and social construct. So masculine and feminine energy, masculine and men, it's not equivalent. So if I say somebody's in their feminine energy, doesn't mean they're not a man. We've all been in our feminine energy in moments when we're in our weakest moments, with respect to the societal construct, to the society we live in, and especially with respect also to interaction with a woman. Okay, so maybe I misused it. I do misuse it sometimes. I use it interchangeably sometimes, but let's just keep that clear there, to be clear. Married to one woman, again, has nothing to do with the fact that he's married to a woman. Alexina has 3 sons and one daughter. They have another child on the way. Congratulations to him. So he's a family man. I'm glad to hear that. He's an excellent, respectful husband and father. He's a great son to his father and his mother. He's a great friend to his friends. I appreciate that. By the way, I'm doing some research, so I can see that already. So I don't disagree with that. Is documentary or historically correct and have brought pride to many Black people. The Hidden Color series 5, 1804, about the Haitian Revolution, Buck Broken, about how the white supremacists have infeminized. Yeah, I've heard him speak about that. So infeminize the black males so they can make our race inferior and no more. I agree with this part as well. If our people are sexually confused, we won't reproduce. That is a fact. That's my personal belief. Okay. Strong black families that are on code for black empowerment. Tariq is an excellent historian. I could see that already, right? But people can be excellent historians and still lack social skills and still lack game. Okay. Now, he used to teach game, so he may be really good in terms of game with respect to women, Mac Daddy-ish when it comes to society at large. Maybe he could use some work in self-control because he overreacted and started muting people on the Twitter space. Maybe he did it rightfully so because, again, people can be disrespectful. If you come in my space and you're spewing rhetoric and you don't understand the movement, I may end up muting your ass too. That's why I enjoy YouTube, because it's a little bit of a monologue. And I get to just talk my own opinions without people interrupting me. And eventually, I don't mind leaving room for people to come and give their own opinion, and I'll back off and let them say their opinion as well when that time comes, right? So it's about balance, okay? And it's about self-control. If you go on Twitter space and you create room where people have dialogue, let them have dialogue, and then go back on YouTube and educate. You have to leave room to educate, okay? And I think somebody was also speaking to that. I forgot what that person was. Anyway, I have other videos where I will cover where somebody was actually trying to correct him, or not trying to teach him how to talk, but maybe he can adjust on how he responds to people, right? I'm trying to remember that person. I don't remember right now. Anyway, Tariq is an excellent historian, brilliant man, and now millionaire. Okay, pocket watchers. He made his money through his relationship, books, documentaries, music, radio show, and other projects, and YouTube. He has a huge follower on YouTube, so let's not forget that. So he's a respectful man. He's a guy that has done very well for himself. There's no questions about that. All right. Nkojo wa Duma. People insist on dissecting or on disrespecting foundational Black Americans, FBA, on our land, but won't lift a toothbrush to the whites and Asians wreaking havoc on their home land. Just go home and be great. You see? Again, xenophobia behavior. Xenophobia doesn't mean that you're not saying it from a place of logic. It also means you're discounting the fact that the world, the rest of the largest part of the world, which is not just the United States, is destabilized because of white supremacists. And there's a lot of factors that goes into why people move and immigrate and migrate. There's a lot. Part of the factors, granted, is that foundational Black Americans, let me use the quote unquote, not the movement, but people that maybe deemed that have helped in many ways. They're paying taxes and also written laws and helping, like the Dr. King's, Tariq Nasheed talked about that, of helping the idea of immigrations of Africans from the Caribbeans, from the rest of the world. So I definitely want to pay homage to that. That's a real thing, right? So, but also we have to not forget that was also part of the power dynamics that the white supremacists understood and still understand to today, and we're having a hard time in engaging that and taking over. Again, power is not given, it has to be taken. I'll keep saying that. So now this person was speaking a language here I didn't understand. I said a lot of facts there. What language did you start your submission with? And he goes, Swahili. So a lot of Black Americans, we just assume that all Africans speak Swahili. Okay, it's okay. There's a lot of stuff that I assume too, that I'm now learning. Okay, but of course, as usual, this person picked up condescension when I said, "Oh, I hope you know, most Africans don't speak Swahili." And of course, look at the tone. Of course, you can read tone in text. Maybe I'm wrong, right? He says, "It's the language I used," right? I'm sure English isn't the language used by all Africans as well. However, the idea was communicated with efficient effectiveness. Congratulations. But again, this is part of our weaknesses. We pick condescensions than saying, hey, maybe they're saying something else. Right? But again, I'm just saying, yeah, the best answer here would be like, oh yes, I know that. I just wanted to. Oh, interesting. Oh, shut the fuck up and keep it moving. Right? Either that, right? Yeah, it just says I can pick up tone in text most times. Yes, or at least you're giving us the permission to interpret the tone, which is why I always say people should avoid text message when there's emotions are high too, right? And then this person says, you hate FBA, don't you? I said that, if you listen to the whole video, I said that in so many ways that no, there's no way I could possibly hate for foundational Black Americans. I don't have that bone in me, okay? And a part of me want to speak for Africans that they usually don't have that bone in them. Now, there are spaces, sometimes they're nosy, and they will enter conversations that really they don't belong in, and they will drag your ass just for the sake of trolling, and then it's gonna come off that way, okay? But I'm not speaking for everyone at all. I really can't afford to do that. So no, I don't, not at all. Stay tuned. I will do a full breakdown gathering the facts. Any info you submit directly or indirectly will be used. All right, so let's see here. Jeremiah Lydell says Africa is messed up because y'all sold human capital. Okay, y'all gave away your brothers and sisters for mirrors. We built this country from the mud, cleared the fields, built the cities, we built the railroads in the East Coast and Midwest. Okay, so Jeremiah is responding, okay, in the Midwest, we were in bondage in the North until the early 1800s. We created most of the inventions. Currently, we are in the richest black folks, or we are the richest black folks in the world. Also, we want Africans and the diaspora to get on code so that we can beat the system. Well, if you have to ask, that means you're missing. Just like in romantic relationship, if you have to ask, you're missing it, right? So how you engage pushbacks is your responsibility. If people push back against you, how you engage that is your responsibility. Like if we had a movement as Africans right now, right? And foundational Black Americans start to push against it, how I respond to that is my responsibility. Let's say, for example, I interpret foundational Black American ask, the original question was, how does immigration benefit foundational Black Americans, FBAs? That was the original question. That's an authentic question. That's a fantastic question, right? And it needs to be answered by people who can engage intellectual conversation. Okay, I think it was Charlemagne that was saying that Tariq needs to learn how to engage people without coming down to that trolling level. I can appreciate the jokes, but again, if you do too much of it, it can affect the movement, right? Especially if you claim to be the leader of the movement, right? So here we go. Currently, are the richest. If you're trying to beat white supremacists, it's about engaging and taking power. They're not going to give you power. Can we all forget about the idea that they can give you power just because, right? That's never going to happen, okay? If you're going to get power, you're going to take it. And part of doing that is understanding layers from grassroots all the way to the top. And learning how to engage your own people, even when they're pushing against you, when they ask condescending questions, is going to be part of the skill set, okay? So we want to beat the white supremacy racism. Reparations are for the FBA. So I would never disagree with that, right? I'm yet to hear people make proper case for reparations to go to Africans as well. I'm yet to hear proper conversations around that. I haven't really heard anything. I heard this lady right here, and I think Tariq Nasheed shared this video. Let me share this video with you really quickly. Let's see here. This lady right here. I was gonna play it later, but I'll play it right now.
Is that Caribbean people who live in the United States, black people, would not be entitled to any reparation paid by the US government. But we are saying that's not right. We are saying that's divisive of the black population in the United States. We are saying that Caribbean immigrants have been harmed by that system through racial profiling, discrimination.
See, the black population in the US is pretty diverse. Most black people are foundational black Americans, meaning they're American descendants of enslaved people. Others are immigrants or the children of immigrants who came to the United States from mostly African and Caribbean countries. Those individuals may have ancestors who were enslaved, but wouldn't be considered eligible recipients for reparations in the United States.
Descendants of the enslaved have a claim that's linked directly to the failure to provide their ancestors with the promised 40-acre land grants. And that's uniquely a debt that is owed to the individuals who were enslaved and it was not met, and to their descendants.
So yeah, there you have it. I agree with that video. I also don't think, at least they haven't made the case for me. We have Lord Jamar, who used to be on Vlad TV, had an interview with Tariq Nasheed, and he was saying that his great-grandfather came here in the mid-1800s, and he didn't realize until he did the ancestry DNA test, that that his grandfather was from the Caribbean, from Grenada. There are people like that too that were also part of building this country that would claim that they also deserve reparation, right? But again, I'm yet to hear a full-blown making case for that, So there you have it, So I think that was interesting submission. That was words saladed up with insults, shame, and all that kind of stuff. Again, people were troll. It is what it is. Thank you for the submission. Nonetheless, there was some information in there. Ask your viewers to read United Independent Compensatory Code. All right, so this is a good one. I'm actually going to I want to actually try to pull that up, right? Okay, right there, boom. So I have it open, right? Just FYI. So now this person says, bro, stop the BS. The derogatory names and contempt y'all have for us has been here for generations, and we only had love. Now y'all expose, we're done. B1. So was this part of the Cheetah P? The Cheetah P words, I guess. Oh well, yeah, I think it's part of the Cheetah P, Cheetah Eater conversation. Let's see. The message is simple. FBA is looking out for its tribe. See, I agree with this. Okay, I agree with this. Right. That's why, generally speaking, I wouldn't have come into the conversation. I was just covering the news, and then we're going down the rabbit hole, and I'm learning in the process. So that's good. The same way every group on earth does, absolutely. FBA is reconsidering any support for immigration from all groups. Okay, they are considering it. I don't think they have the power to consider it. I don't think they have the power to pull the plug. I don't think they ever had the power. I believe that when the white supremacists came to them for the support, I think it was more so a way to appease them and to, again, use power against them, right? And then make it look good on the surface. That's part of power. You have to make it look a certain way. You have to give it certain type of optics, right? And that's part of engaging people like Dr. King and welcoming the Kenyans and stuff like that, including, like he said, he claimed that Barack Obama's father was also part of the people that came through those programs that brought students from Kenya, from parts of Africa. And yes, they needed this white supremacists engaged the support of the Foundation of Black Americans. But was it really needed? Was it also part of a bigger agenda? Those are the questions that we all still continue to ask, right? In order to be able to engage our power as Black people in this world, precisely in this world. Okay. All right, so the when, where, what, and how we decide to do it is up to us in terms of this support. Yeah, that's the question I'm asking right now. Is it really up to you? Someone said off code says, so you're totally gonna act like Tariq didn't start the divide. So again, this right away will come off as divide, okay? If Africans are feeling that it as divide, then it is divide, and you will need the support of the Africans in order to get the reparation. Okay, you will need the support of the Africans in order to get reparation. All right, now if how you engage them when they push back against us is everything. Now, if you think being loud and calling them names, cheater eater, cheater pea, is how you're gonna get the support, right? I mean, think about it. Is that how you're gonna get the support? Now, you have my support, but the average person is a troll. Life is not fair, right? So, LOL. By the way, you know, we as Black Americans have absolutely no control over legal immigration, right? Oh, so that's the Black American saying that. Isn't that interesting, right? So, of course, so this person replied, "You're right, Tariq didn't start the division." But he's saying you're gonna act like Tariq didn't start the divide. We have never been together to divide in the first place. I disagree. That's your experience. There are a lot of people with individual experiences where we are together. I have fantastic relationship with a lot of foundational Black Americans, but I get it. You may call it anecdotal, but I've seen enough, right, to know that it's possible. At least we know it's possible, right? So why not pursue the possibilities as against your worst case scenario examples, right? Not together when being sold by our brothers. Well, slave trade happened all around the world. It's not an excuse. It is what it is, okay? It happened around the world, right? And it happened even in Africa before white people came in, okay? Before white people came in, human capital was a thing amongst themselves. It was ways that people had status. It was ways that people owned lands, owned territories, right? Some of, quote unquote, the slaves are their children and their own daughter. They conquered other territories, other settlements. And that was how things were thousands of years ago, up to hundreds of years ago. So you're not being genuine, you're being disingenuous if you're going to discount that part in the conversation. That is not an excuse. It's still a terrible thing to happen, right? Not together, being sold as brothers and sisters during the slave trade. Not together afterwards. They never came to get us. Immigrants are here to eat. Enjoy the meal. Now, have you paid attention to colonialism and imperialism, right? If you paid attention to that, then you will know that it's not just conquering Africans by way of slave trade or carrying or taking slaves away from the continent. It was also by suppressing and subduing them even in the land there, right? We're still paying tithes to British colony. So it's bigger than your personal emotions, okay? This is going to take power. It's going to take understanding power and learning how to take power. Immigrants are here to eat. Enjoy the meal while you can. Citizens of a nation have control over their government, which has control over legal immigration. This is an illusion until you understand power. Okay, I don't care if it's democratic, even here in the United States, this is an illusion. Okay, this is a fantasy. Immigrant envy, jealousy, and hatred. This is all human emotions. You bring jealousy, you bring hatred into the conversation. You're shaming, you're insulting. That's coming from a powerless position. That's coming from a weak position. The easiest thing in life is to shame and insult. When you learn how to rise above shaming and insulting, then you will start to engage your power in life, either in romantic relationship, in personal relationships, anything like that, right? So, yeah, absolutely. So remember Joseph who was sold. Again, we're bringing in scriptures. This is part of your slavery mentality. You're bringing the Bible into a conversation where Bible has been used against you. You're not helping yourself. And you're using it to fight your own brothers, right? So, and if you know the Joseph story, my kids and myself just read that story not too long ago. We're reading the Bible right now. And that Joseph story, you realize that Joseph did not retaliate with shame and insults. That's not what he did. How come you're leaving that part of the story out, right? So even if we're going to bring the correlation into it, right? He did what powerful people do, right? He engaged his power by not engaging in envy, jealousy, hatred in the name of calling it out, but effectively doing it. right? This problem is coming from both sides. It's getting real now, right? Joseph became successful in captivity, and when famine came, his brothers were forced to flee their homeland, bow to him, and beg for help. Well, let's assume you're correct there, right? How did you respond to that? He wasn't xenophobic. He wasn't loud about that. That's not what the story said, right? He wasn't said, I'm gonna get you because you got me. He wasn't saying it with his words. He wasn't doing it in his actions either, right? So yes, it sounds familiar. It sounds familiar, but it sounds like you're still stuck in the mindset that made them even subjugated us in the first place, right? That made us weak in the first place as Black people, right? When are we going to rise above that type of mindset? That's the question I would like to know. If FBA is a lineage, then why does Tariq have it trademarked under his name? Well, if you're going to create a movement, you have to trademark it. This is an African or somebody pushing against him, or maybe one of foundational Black Americans pushing against his own brother, right? I see Kevin Smith. I don't know if that's real. Then why does Tariq have it trademarked under his name? Every time you idiots refer to yourselves as FBA, you're stating that you are the property of Tariq Nasheed. LOL. Somebody has to lead a movement. Sadly, somebody has to. Okay, now I'm speaking in favor of Tariq, right? If he sees a movement, if he doesn't trademark it, somebody's going to trademark it. Now, there are ways to trademark it as non-profit or for profit. I know he's selling books right now that's called Foundational Black Americans, something beta, something like that. Or bait something, I don't know. It's a book that I would be interested in reading, by the way, to see where it's coming from. I've heard enough of his videos that I know that he knows what he's talking from an historical standpoint. Why did FBA not exist before 2019? Because everything starts at a time. Everything starts in one day, right? These questions. I guess no questions are stupid questions, but damn, they should have obvious answer to them, right? Back then, Tariq was capping for the ADOS group until they kicked him out. Oh, the ADOS kicked him out. I want to know if this is true. Please, if this is any true, if you have any sources around this, I would like to know. And he had to start his own FBA scam group. Now, can people scam with this kind of non-profit groups? Yes, absolutely. It's part of the problems of society. It's part of the how casualties are created even when there's a real movement that needs to be done. All right. So exactly, FBA is an online troll cult. FBA is an online troll cult started by Tariq, who is funded by some white conservative group. Interesting. Now, I don't know how true this is. Conspiracy theories all over the place. We don't know, and we'll find out. Again, I have to look at things from surface. I have to look at people's intention from what they state in their statement. I actually have their page open here. I'm still reading it. I'm looking at it closer. But let's keep going. Let's look at what people have to say first, right? Started by Tariq, who is funded by, Tariq knows that his cult group is stupid and will never go look this information up for themselves. People will never look at the information for themselves. Okay. Now, I'm creating content around this for profit. Okay. Nonetheless, I'm simultaneously educating myself by the movement. Okay. This platform is for profit. Talk about other topics, right? So I think that should be clear to everyone. Tariq knows his cults and will never go information. Yeah, people generally won't find information. And Charlemagne said the best, who cares about the truth if the headline is more entertaining, right? And people like that, especially in a social media era, because information is readily available, right? But negative information travel further. That's why they still haven't gotten their museum. So I thought the museum existed already. Personally, I thought the museum, but it looks like what I was looking at was, this is his book right here, Race Beta. Foundational Black American Race Beta, and it's $45. Okay. Oh, by the way, I have books on social media, not social media, on real estate. If you want to learn how to make money in real estate. Smart Real Estate Wholesaling, Real Estate Money Secret. You can find these 2 books at realestatemoneysecrets.com with the masterclass, by the way, with the free masterclass. It's all free. You can download the books for free. If what you want is as a PDF. And then I have for marriage, Get My Marriage Back, written by myself and my wife. All right. So there's nothing wrong with selling books, but again, people will start to read him as a scam. Some people are very sensitive to that, especially if you are writing on people's pain or all ancestral level of pain, right? So, but I'm looking at some of this material. I was already reading it, and I'm like, okay, some research have been done here. Some people can get value from knowing their history from here. He created a bandana around this, flags. He created a movement. A movement is a movement. And yeah, will some people profit from movements? Yes. Even some of the greatest movements in history, you'll be naive to think that somebody didn't profit from it. So I'm not sure if I want to use that as a negative against the movement, that the fact that he's profiting off of it. I'm not too sure about that, right? So I saw the picture of a building, a foundational black. Let me see if I can find it. Foundational Black American Museum. So in his last video, which I listened to closely, he did say the museum is coming, the Hidden History Museum. There you go, right there. Let me see if I can find pictures. Okay, so I didn't look close enough. So it's supposed to be but this looks like it's a mock-up. It looks like it's a mock-up, right? So, and this is what they're planning to do. So I guess it's not ready. I'm not even sure if it started yet. Anyway, let's keep going. So let's see, sir. That's why they still haven't gotten their museum. And looks like this is an African American laughing here. But again, the division is not necessarily by this person that started the movement. I don't agree that the person that started a movement is divided. I think people as our nature in general, we do it in religion, we do it in politics. Y'all keep repeating the same shit about Joseph and his brothers. I knew it. See, I thought I was the only one that read that as repetition, but that would be the second time I'm seeing it. But I guess they've been repeating it, just like they do in the manosphere. They repeat the same talking points. The lack of creativity is enough to tell me how weak these people are for the most part, right? Majority of the people, right? Y'all keep repeating the same shit about Joseph and his brothers. That's all y'all know how to do, is just repeat what Tariq highlights in his streams or Twitter spaces. Can you point out the exact tribe of Africans who sold us into slavery? Okay, so this person's African American from the tone of things, or they could be trolling. Yes, it could be an African doing yaw just to troll. Okay, no, don't pass anything by. Like, social media is mad. People are mad on social media. They will do anything to push a rhetoric. Okay, well, but it sounds like it's African, and I've seen African Americans push against their own people and vice versa, or Africans push against Africans. Okay, you're completely ignoring the fact that tribes who went to war with each other did this. Sell off survivors of this. Yeah, actually, my own family. Obviously, I'm not African descent of slaves, right? I'm not foundational Black American. But in my own family, I come from a village. My family come from a village called Usho in Ondo State of Nigeria. And that village was literally created off of lost slaves, people who ran away from their own village, running away from warriors who took their own family. There were people who traveled. Like, my wife is from a place called Abeokuta. And I know it's 2 states over, right? And basically, there are people that are known that have been lost in that part of the nation that they will never find again because they ran away. And because again, think about it, a few hundred years back to the past in Africa, there's no cars, there's no navigation, nothing like that. Everything was manual. So when people get lost or war comes into a village and takes it over, people get sold off before white people came into that land at all. This was just the culture. Okay, Africans who sold us to slavery. You're completely ignoring the fact that tribes who went to war with each other did this, sell off survivors of this losing tribe to the enemy. And the whites did a lot of kidnapping back then. There was kidnapping, yes, as well. Tariq got your sounding just like white people. So that's real, you know. Wait. I thought we're Aboriginal Indians and slavery trade was a lie. Which one is it, Tariq? We're confused. And there's the history that we have as well is terrible. Even in Nigeria, right? People don't have real history. The history that we have, for the most part, is what the white people documented. So fighting each other is not going to do you any good in general. Either you're reacting or you're acting. A lot of this is reaction. I get it, because you feel like Africans or Caribbeans are entitled as shit, which I agree. A lot of time they are entitled as shit, right? But you just reacting to these things is not going to help us, right? Slave trade never ended. It was just transformed. Tariq never said slavery trade was a lie. Yes, we have aboriginal ties. I don't know what that word means. I guess it means slave. It means American Indians, I guess, Native Americans, right? I think that's what it is, right? Because he did say that's part of foundational. It's made of three things. Foundational Black Americans are made up of Native Americans, Black people that were here, Black people that were exploring, and as well as people that were descendants of slave trades or slaves in the slave trade, or anybody that was part of the slavery system, okay, in those three categories. So I heard that part really clearly, and the only thing that was excluded from it is if you're a descendant of immigrants on both sides of the parents. If you're a descendant of slave, anyone that was part of the slave trade system on either side, then you qualify. That's what they said. But also amalgamation of many nations. Yes, the amalgamations, right? How did Nigeria came about? Who named? Did you know that Nigeria was named by the concubine of a white man, Flora Shaw? Did you know that all of those countries were named by white people? Oh, you didn't know that, right? Well, also an amalgamation of many nations. Joseph's coat of many colors is not hyperbole. It's allegorical. I'm learning the English language for the first time. History. Many just fail to see themselves in it. I can see your intellectual orientation is off. You're not supposed to swallow all the lies, but challenge everything you're given. That's a fact, which is what I'm doing right now, right? Remember, man knows not by being told. Yes, you don't know by being told. You have to do your own research, gentlemen. Black people especially. Come on, do I have to tell you that? You can't just sit in 5-6 hours on a guru and then regurgitate everything you learn from them. You can't do that. You're gonna hurt yourself in the process. Do your own goddamn research. Okay? Unless you're researching, listening to them. Okay? Which I did yesterday. I found myself listening to Tariq Nasheed for an hour, but I needed to do that so I don't come up disingenuous with all these topics, right? And yeah, but in 1 hour I can hear what somebody's rhetoric is, and I can read his website and see. So that's probably the last time I'll be doing that. I will now continue to listen to clips here and there. I can basically predict his moves into the future. Okay, I've listened to a few videos. There's interviews. There's 2-3 interviews on the Breakfast Club and stuff like that, just to make sure that I'm also coming from an educational standpoint. But I can appreciate Off Code here. Is it Off Code? Yeah, Off Code. I can appreciate him. Slave trade never ended. It was just transfer. Okay, and Noble, right? Noble. Okay, yeah. I can appreciate this conversation here. I'm not supposed to swallow all the lies. Okay, so he goes, trademark just like being Negro, black, and colored are titles that belong to slave owners. Yeah, I said that earlier. Anybody can trademark, right? Maybe just to make sure that the movement is tight, right? Should we keep those titles too? At some point, the mass of black, AA, African American, foundational Black Americans, African descendants of slaves, etc., et al., tribe members will proclaim their final nationalities and be recognized by the rest of the human family. Like all tribes, we have work to do. It's a part of growing as a nation. I agree. I don't expect those who have a nation to flee from to understand. All right, so this is lack of empathy, but again, he's coming from his own, I guess, accessory pain. Understand, since they have the benefit of a common language, history, culture, and land. I agree with him to a large extent too. I agree with that too. We have not, so I forgive you for your impatience with us. We are here to learn from each other, not just take. What does your tribe teach about morality and treating those who have suffered oppression? All right, so he's coming back around. The conversation is going. So that's why I encourage conversations, because sometimes we push against each other, we fight each other, but that's why I appreciate the manosphere too, right? We need it. We need all of the above. You don't have Aboriginal ties as a whole. Just because a few hundred are mixed with a few Indian tribes, other than that, Tariq and Dane Calloway have no concrete proof that they were Aboriginal, I guess Native Americans, right? Tariq said that y'all were already here, and there is no actual proof to show that. My orientation is not off. You have not challenged a single thing that has ever come out of Tariq's mouth, including Cheetah P. Right? That's why I see his calm-stained logic dripping from your mouth. Yee. See, the shame and insult is on both sides of any argument, and that's sad. Dripping from your mouth, the fact that you actually are telling me to challenge everything we're given is laughable, when you won't even challenge any of the crap that comes from Tariq. How has black immigration affected your life? Has black immigration stopped you from getting certain opportunities? Well, this is lack of empathy for the slave trade as well. So when you're speaking to people that are of the slave trade descendants of any form, you really can't say this, okay? I'm talking to us Africans and anybody who push against, or anybody who wants to hold people accountable. You got to speak from a place of empathy. How everybody interprets the trauma is different from people to people. Have you questioned Tariq's current logic? As black immigration hurt you? Did you challenge the fact? Personally, I don't think it has hurt anybody directly, not even indirectly. Okay, I'm yet to hear the proper case for that as well. Did you challenge? Excuse me. Did you challenge the fact that you can't trademark a lineage? Yeah, it's tricky. It's a little tricky, right? Did you challenge the logic that was given to you by your leader? I want to know more about this trademarking lineage and benefiting off of a movement of people and their pain, ancestral pain. I want to know. Thanks for proving my point exactly. Tribes went to war and sold the losing brothers into bondage, just like Joseph was. So he missed it. He missed the point. I'm sorry. He missed the point. Remember the jealous. Again, that's why I tend not to engage people unless it's for profit, like what I'm doing right now. I tend not to engage people that already disagree with me, because generally speaking, they already made up their mind. That's why I avoid going on people's stages as well. You know, if I can hear the rhetoric, or if I hear echo chamber in any level, I just generally avoid it, because they've made up their mind, and you have people usually debating, which means everyone has the right to speak, even if they're speaking the wrong things. So I tend to shy away from that. You know, you could call me a punk if you want. Just like Joseph was my brother. Remember, the jealous and envy brothers wanted to kill him, but after the last tribe was sold to the Europeans, your new enemy. See, the confusion is real. You're speaking. If you want to go deeper in this rabbit hole, we can start to look at how the Bible has been used to enslave black people. Okay, how black people has lost touch with their own religion and what they believe to be deities and God, and in exchange for what the white people have handed to them directly or indirectly. Because some people will come here and tell me, "Oh, Egyptians brought the religion, not white people." Well, semantics. Neither here nor there. Bottom line is that in so many ways we've been subjugated. We subjugated ourselves because we refuse to engage what it means power as a group of people. And honestly, naturally so. Because again, if they're handing you baits and they're giving you food, right? All this aids that they're dropping in Africa and all this money that they're sending down there, these are ways that they engage and retain power, sadly, right? The fact that they're giving us opportunity to come here as well as immigration, that's all part of the agenda. We're not talking about that. We think we're now enemies of each other. Thanks for proving my point. Remember the jealous, envying brothers wanted to kill him. But after the last tribe was sold to the Europeans, your new enemy, the Europeans, married your woman, had sons, and took the land and resources and subjugated your nations. Famine. Now you flee to Egypt, America. So this person is regurgitating the Bible. And they think they actually sounded smart. To beg for scraps. And allowed the Europeans to take your resources and your brightest sons and daughters to build the empire. And you are left naked with your precious pride to keep you warm. How do you feel? Do you think it was a fair trade? Power is not about fair trade. Okay? We have to take power, and that's not going to be a fair game. Okay? Sadly, it's not. It's not going to be a fair game. Let's keep going here. Thank you, Noble, Elroy, and Offcode for giving us this gem here. And you keep mentioning African immigrants fleeing their country. If you really did your research, if you really believed in that challenge, everything BS, you would find out that America and other countries were the sponsor of many of these wars. Facts? I was just saying that. Now they have to bite the bullet that comes with that. I can give you example after example of American involvement in African countries. Yes, including allegedly killing the guy that was supposed to make a change in Nigeria, Abiola. Yeah. They have their hands all dirty. Americans' hands are dirty. Okay? Full with blood all over the place. Are you hearing that for the first time? Come on, man. You dip your fingers into something someone else's plate. Don't act surprised when they come for yours. Now for us, people who've been here, it's still speaking as a descendant of slaves, right? Since the beginning, and have had all the time to rise up. By the way, Louis Farrakhan has a word against this idea of, shaming and insulting Africans too, by the way. Why are African immigrants outniching us? Outshining us? Why are more, again, I believe this person is potentially an African troll, okay? Why are more educated African immigrants numbers are the smallest in comparison to that of other groups? You and Tariq are butthurt about a few African immigrants with different opinions, and none of these opinions affect Black Americans in any way. You act like some random African immigrant's opinion has kept us from receiving some type of benefits or something else. Okay. Off-code response. He continues. In order for one to go to war, there has to be a dispute. How do you know that it wasn't us? No, for a fact, it was us. It's dispute among us. Okay, that's how the enemies comes in. If the wall is not cracked, the lizard cannot come in. If the walls in your house is not cracked, okay, for those of you that live in block houses, right, the lizard cannot enter. The wall has to crack open first. Okay, that's a proverb from Yoruba land. Okay, African immigrants numbers are the smallest in comparison. Now, I agree that there's trauma that could make it that way. Okay, that's why I don't speak to this. This is just me reading what Offcode has to say. African immigrants numbers are the smallest in comparison to that of other groups. You and Tariq are butthurt about a few African immigrants with different opinions. Okay, we already read that. Okay, we were here. Sorry. That both tribes led to war. Okay, let me go. Dispute. How do you know that it wasn't us that started the dispute which led to the war? That both tribes went to war over. How do you know that we didn't attack them first? In the story of Joseph, his brothers were jealous of him because he had a coat of many colors. What was supposedly our coat? our complexion? What was there for for Africans to be jealous of? What did we have that they didn't? And Africa is a continent with many vast shades of brown people that still to this day are there and have been there way before slavery. So if you can't say they took us for our complexion, what started the tribal wars or who attacked first? You don't know. Okay, he replies, I doubt any proof would be enough. You cannot add to a cup that's already full. But here are a few. They came before Columbus. Lucifer, Brazil, oldest bones found in the Americas. The Bowman Park. I'm not gonna pronounce all this stuff. Mississippian culture, oldest settlements in North America. What's funny is you believe everything your colonizers taught you about a story. That could be said too, you know. That could be said. But I think one thing that's common to all of us is that we don't know. We did a bad job of keeping our own history as Black people. We did a terrible job. Okay? And the best thing we can do right now is to stop creating more divisions from individual to individual. Stop encouraging more divisions and say, okay, we don't know what we don't know. And that's okay. Now let's engage what we know, which is we know that our reactions, our actions, we know that we need to have a common front, a common goal in having these conversations. Off-code says the proof would be enough. Where's the pictures? Where's the structures? How were Native Americans able to outlast these Black Aboriginal India tribes? They have pictures of real American Indians that are from the 1800s. They have pictures of former samurai soldiers from the 1800s. No pictures exist of any Black American Aboriginal tribe. None. You're talking about bones found in South America. I'm talking about evidence in North America to completely different places. There are even Amazon tribes that live in the rainforest that have been there for thousands and thousands of years, and not all of them look like a Black American. We're not aboriginal to America. Since you like to bring up Bible stories, didn't I say that earlier? You should look up the one that tells you about us coming over here in iron shackles to the new Egypt. Oh wait, I don't know if that Bible story been approved by your court leader yet to fit his narrative. All right, this is interesting. I was supposed to finish about an hour ago, but this is interesting. So let's finish properly. Now you're proving Tariq right. This is Noble responding. He said you flee. Now I would like Noble and Off-Code to come on and come up with me and have this conversation with me. You can see my if you private message me on Instagram, we can make it happen. You know, I can learn a lot from you guys. I promise you. Maybe it's just me being overly humble. I kind of know a lot of things you guys are talking about, but I also don't like to. I don't like to speak to things that I don't know. Sometimes I shy away and just focus on things that I know, that I've studied, that I've spent most of my adult life doing real estate and relationships. All right. I try to stay in my lane, right? But I also don't mind the conversations. Let's keep going. Noble says, now you're proving Tariq right. He said you flee your homeland and won't get on code. Okay, so it looks like Noble is not believing that Off-Code is actually an African American, just like me, right? But let's prove that. Let's come up and let's make this happen, right? He said you flee your homeland and won't get on code to fight your oppression. You run and get comfortable under Europeans. It makes you feel happy when he educates you, give you a job, and pats you on the head. YouTube Daddy tells you you're not like them Akares. They say Akares. By the way, it's not pronounced Akares, okay? It's called Akata. As in Remimi, there's a tone to it, okay? It's called Akatas, and I will address the whole Akata issue at the right timing, okay? But as much as a lot of uneducated people like to think of it as it was derogatory, I don't use it as derogatory. I don't use it at all because of the new form of education that's happened over the past few years. I don't use it at all. But most people that use it as a form of as a term of endearment. When you're called an Akata as an African person, there are a lot of Africans that think that's they look at, because of the way that Africans that haven't been here tend to look up to African Americans. They think it's a term of endearment, right? They think it's a term of edification. I'm looking for the word education, a term of they find it flattery when you call them Akata. Not African Americans, Africans, right? It's many Africans that think that way. They think it's complimentary, right? But when you start to dig in a little bit deeper, you start to find that a lot of people have received that as derogatory, right, over time. But it's partly because a lot of Africans are running their mouth too, with respect to just that meaning, right? There are school of thought that says is directly related to the Black Panther movement. That was actually a movement that came visiting Africa and stuff like that. And Black Panther is a strayed cat. So when it's not them calling Black Americans strayed cat, it's them calling them the name of the movement, Black Panther. So there are also a certain group of people that call African Americans a kata for that reason. And there's also people calling them as a term of endearment, as a term of it's a complimentary thing, right? Now, when people use it as a negative thing, let's say, for example, an African person lives on the street of Newark, which I've seen happen, right? And, if you know Wickway in Newark, right? The high school, Wickway High School, it's not the best high school in the fucking world. Everybody knows that, right? When your kids go there, when they're coming home, everybody, including African American, want their kids to come home first and don't hang out on the streets for obvious reasons. For obvious reasons, this wasn't an attack against African Americans. It's an attack against bad kids on the streets, attack against drugs on the street, drug selling, gang banging, and things like that, right? So they may use terms like that. Don't hang out with those Akata kids on the streets. It's basically not African Americans kids on the street, which includes African Americans, Africans, Caribbeans, basically kids that are gang banging on the streets of those inner cities. Okay, so it's kind of funny when people want to push against the word Akata, they only reading it from it being a derogatory term, right? Now, when some people will say, as Africans, when they went to high school here, they were called African booty scratcher. To me, that's not a fair comparison. Okay, I don't think it's relevant. Okay, you being called African booty scratcher is like Tariq calling people cheetah. They smell like cheetah pee. It's like just calling each other names for fun, for trolling, for whatever reasons. Calling them cheetah eater. Okay, it's the same thing. That's African booty scratcher. You're a cheetah eater. Kids throwing batter at each other, right? So I don't even consider African booty scratcher. I don't really consider it as a derogatory anything. I just see kids. I don't see adults calling themselves that. Okay, hold on 1 second. Let me just make sure that we're able to. Let me just that we're able to get our likes up. Let's make sure that if you're coming here, that you help us get the likes up. All right. So, all right, good. Thank you. All right. So there's a lot of nuances and context to it. With that being said, Africans, it's safer to stay away from the word Akata. It's not Akata. Okay, it's not. Okay, that's the lazy way that Americans pronounce stuff in general. It's not Akata. Akata sounds like AKADA. It's AKATA. It's Akata. And the closest meaning to it is Black Panther after the movement of the Black Panther movement, not as a derogatory anything, not anyone calling African Americans animals. And there's a lot of Africans that want to kiss booty juice all over the place, running around the place and running with the rhetorics, and then you're making it worse. Okay, the last thing we want to do is create more division. We don't want more division. With that being said, I am encouraging everyone to stay away from the word Akata. I don't think most people that use the word use it in people's face either. It's more so they use it to reference a group of people, not in their face. Like nobody says, "Hey, you this Akata person." No, nobody says that. If anything, African Buddhist scratcher is used that way, right? But again, they're not to be compared with each other. It's not a fair comparison, right? And I think it's not relevant to the conversation. With that being said, because a lot of people are being miseducated about it, I think it's better to stay away from the word because it's creating more division than anything else. All right. So hopefully that was a good explanation. I will try to cut that out and put it out there as educational for people that may find it useful as we move into the future. All right. So let's see here. So it means I don't have to go back to stay here. So this is a bunch of sarcasm, I guess. You're not like them Akatas. You're a good little immigrant. Now go back to the work I pay you for, so I can finish ripping your nation resources, and keeping your family overseas poverty-stricken. And you say, if it means I don't have to go back and get to stay here with your YouTube daddy, I will work overtime. Foundational Black Americans FBA would not want to build or support anyone with that kind of mindset. A broken mind is a broken man. I get it. Thank you, Just Jay. I was hoping that was very informative. Thank you. We are not cut from the same cloth. You're not going to convince me of anything, and I'm not going to change your mind to get on code, even though he's actively trying to do that. We see you now, so we will act accordingly. Yeah, that's not gonna help because you claim your brothers. That's not gonna help. Okay. Last question. If Tariq is calling people taters, I guess that's another shamey word, for asking about whereabouts of the museum. Oh, so anytime people ask Tariq for the museum and the money, he's calling them taters? Can white folks call us taters? I don't know what that means. Can somebody help me? What does taters mean? For asking about reparation. All symbolic language. Okay, I guess sign language. Quote. Okay, not sign. Symbolic. Coat is an outer garment. Many colors or shades. Amalgamated nations mix. FBA are of many shades. Joseph is the favorite son of the father. Okay, so when you use this rhetoric of Joseph, there's many ways that the Bible, if you push that story, that can be actually problematic, right? Pushing that, if let's say you have your own kids and you're pushing the story down their throats, now your kid is kind of forced to ask you, so dad, who's the favorite son, right? You're creating more division. You're creating more division effectively. You realize that? Even though you claim that's not what you want, right? So I know Tariq is very fond of saying, we're not creating the division. Really? All right. I'm still yet to be convinced on that. I want to give the brother a lot of credit for creating a movement that a lot of people are behind, for fighting for the rights of people that were oppressed in this nation, United States. But division is coming from all ends right now. Sorry. Joseph is the favorite son of the father, the one he loved the most. Represents oppressed people with talents and gifts who are hated, leads to war. Okay, word salad. Envy and jealousy is what his brothers had for him. Okay, war is generally about pride over resources. Two or more brothers fighting over something. No, it could also be strangers invading the town. It could also be strangers looking close enough to see if there's division and then using that against your own people. Right? That's precisely what happened in Lagos State, Nigeria. Okay? That's precisely what happened. There's a lot of stories around the Ovori people of Lagos State, Nigeria, and how the Yoruba people never really owned that land. You could dig that up if you want. Okay? There's patterns here that we can see all over the place, over time and time. Envy and jealousy is what his brothers had for him. War two or war him out of the mixture in bondage will come a clean and pure. Okay, when you start to see yourself as the subjugated, as the right, and the other person as the wrong, you create division. It happens in romantic relationships. It's in every type of relationship. You have to find a common ground. How do you do that? You find a way to bring value to other people. We're going to break that down on this channel as time goes on, okay? Clean and pure nation that the older nations, brothers, will learn from. So Noble is keep pushing this rhetoric of somebody is the enemy, somebody is right, and the other one is wrong, right? You're not going to like that part, I know. It's not about liking it, it's about pointing out what you're doing, even though you don't realize you're doing it, right? No good is going to come out of this because the white supremacy outnumbers you until you bring all of your brothers together and you fight together, okay? That's what's going to have to happen. So Off Code says, duh, I guess this was up to 10 minutes ago. Oh my God, these people are on here talking. Oh no, Off Code came here to respond 10 minutes ago. Maybe he's watching, who knows? Yeah, duh, I get the symbolic talk, but why are there Africans who look exactly like us in Africa who can't even tell if you're Black American until you speak? How were they left there? Okay, so he's saying based off of looks. Yeah, I think there's some good points here. I think some great points on both sides. I think there were some great points that were made from both sides. I'm going to I have some other yeah, I have some other videos that I will bring later on. This conversation, to be honest with you, I wanted to disengage from it, right? But as part of the formula here on YouTube, if the conversation is being had, then it's useful. It's about serving the audience. It's about talking about it if people still want to talk about it, and that's why I will happily continue to have this conversation, but more so in the form of engaging us, right? Engaging the people. I think Tariq Nasheed is up to something good, but I think there's gonna have to be some kind of change in how he leads this movement, because negative has power over positive to spread faster. And if that movement is laced up, just the same thing that happened with ADOS, I'm hearing, if that message or the movement is laced up with negativity and fighting your African brothers all the time, I mean 27,000 people were in that Twitter space, then the negative will spread faster. Sadly, that's the way it works. And even if you're going to have an effect on everything over time, you'll find over time that you will end up with a situation where you're not here to engage the fruits of your labor. Okay, we have the fella Anikulapo Kutis, who is now considered the prophet, but when he was here, nobody respected him. You have the Malcolm X, right? When he was here, he pushed against a lot of rhetoric because of a lot of this negativity, right? Even the Dr. King himself, even Jesus Christ, right? So while you may have a lot of substance that may be hidden inside of the message, if you want to be here to enjoy it, you have to learn how to engage power, learn how power dynamics work, and how to bring people along.